I'm here with the iconic Dr. George Curry. Welcome, Dr. Curry.
Hey, great to be here, Dr. Ben.
Well, I'm really excited about this because we go back, both of us, personally, but also as chiropractors, to where we were learning from the patriarchs and the matriarchs of chiropractic. Thankfully, chiropractic is sort of young enough where Dr. Curry and I are not really far removed from its founders. So, as they say, a lot gets lost generation by generation. I've heard up to 25% of chiropractic was lost at each generation. So this is really a chance to hear the pure, unadulterated version of what chiropractic should be. I've got two big questions for Dr. Curry on this particular video. I want to start with this. I'm getting my doctorate. I'm doing doctorate work in business administration. And something that you learn is that every business must have what they call a balanced scorecard. So a balanced scorecard means that you've got the strategic and the philosophical both working and in action. That the mission of your company is at full force along with your successes. There's actually money being made. You're executing on your strategies, and both have to happen. So sometimes chiropractors say, well, I'm not a philosophical chiropractor. And others would say, well, I'm more philosophical than, say, technical or business-like. But to be a real success, you need both for it to really get sustained. And what I've always admired about you, Dr. Curry, is that you have this sustainable business. You've been a success for decades in chiropractic. So could you share a bit with us, how, you weren't successful just for just a season, like I hear a lot. I was on the phone with just a guy today who said it was going well, a few years ago. I used to be successful and now it's not any longer.
Right, right. Well, first of all, thanks for hooking us up this afternoon, this morning, and congratulations to you at this chapter season of your life to continue to go on. And it's not easy to write the papers and do what you got to do. Congratulations. And that's part of the solution, or part of the things we're talking about today, is to last more than just one season, but to have sustained growth. Is not easy. It's a challenge for everyone, and it starts because we're the products of the environment that we grew up on. I was in a university, a president of a university's office at a meeting just 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the state of chiropractic. And there was a survey that came out into chiropractic economics, and they had the alumni of all the different schools in the United States comment on how well they were prepared for the business world. And it was a scale on 1 to 5. And most of the scales were a 2. This particular school university president, his school was the lowest rated one of all the schools. And so what does that mean is that you're prepared to be a healer, to be a doctor of chiropractic, to help your community restore and maintain health. But if you cannot run the business, how can you serve people with a door that's closed? You can't pay your rent. You can't put your lights on. You can't afford to be there. You have to take a second job. And I know so many people who are trained in the beautiful art of chiropractic to be the solution to the world's problem, but they're working at Otis Elevator or they're working at CVS. It's sad. So on the one side, we have abundant, successful chiropractors. And on the flip side of the coin, we have people that are struggling. And there's no secret sauce. Jesus is the secret sauce for all of us. But as far as the sustained longevity, success always leaves clues, and there are people like yourself who have had, and Dr. Rob, who have had tremendous track record, world-shattering records of multiple clinics, 1,000 a week, and just head spinning, mind blowing. And sometimes, frankly, and I'll get to my story, but sometimes it's too much because someone says, look, I can barely see 100 in a week, 1,000 a week. My mind is just going to explode and my brain anatomy will be all over this floor. I get it. That seems like too much, but many, and when we were, the CCC had a meeting in October or last year in Connecticut, and I'm telling you, I witnessed doctors that I know that came to that program. And in the next 6 months, in the following year, they had growth beyond the likes that they've had in the last 10 years. and we talk about supernatural growth. Myself, I'm no different. When I left Palmer College in 1982, I knew how to find a subluxation, detect it and correct it and adjust. I knew how to do it. I felt solid, 10 out of 10 on the clinical competency scale. But on the business acumen, I had little or none. But I was a hustler, and I worked my way through school, through college, and through Palmer, working while I was going to school. And I said, I'm smart enough to know, well, if I don't know how to do it, someone out there does. And I made it my mission to seek out those who had that knowledge, because I didn't have the time. I didn't want to waste the time. I don't want to spend the time of making those errors, try, fail, try, fail. I wanted the driver personality to some degree. I wanted to cut straight to the front of the line. So I sought out those people who were doing it, who were crushing it, who were making money, had high volume, had successful practices. But I noticed it was very quickly that I could get the pathway and the solution and how to get the practice and how to maintain the blessing of having a maintained enthusiasm for serving God, and that's the priority. If that's not the key, then you're going to wane. You will wane. And you and Dr. Rob and myself, we are no different than anyone else. You look at us and on the screen, and wow, what do these guys have? We are the same as you, the same as we may have better systems and we have the knowledge, we have the business acumen, but we're the same. We're human, we're of the flesh, we make mistakes, we err, but in the long run, not the sprint, but the marathon that is your practice and our practices in our lives. Hey, to sustain it, you have to have that energy, you have to have that enthusiasm, and you have to have that certainty. And so that's what I did, and I followed that path, and I sought out those who had the biggest practices. And I've shared this story before, but one of the things I found in common, if they weren't Christ-centered and they weren't faith-based, they were success in one a level of their life, but they were completely failing in another level. Their relationships were failing. Their marriages were falling apart. They had they had children, but they didn't have a good relationship with their children, and so it was empty. It was hollow. It was shallow. One of the trips I made not too long ago, in the last 5 years, I went to China, and we went to this studio of this e-commerce company called Alibaba, the #1 selling e-commerce in the world. We went to the sound studio. We were doing a presentation. It was fantastic, and I saw the abundance of wealth that they have, and I see how they're literally the world's leader in selling things. But when you went into China and you went from city to city, there was business, there was busyness, but there was an emptiness. There was a godlessness. And when I saw some of these huge practices who's had other aspects of their lives that were failing, and some of them who were making the money, and this is where you have the expertise beyond compare, is that they had the money, but they didn't know what to do with the money and how to be a good steward with their money. And so unfortunately, when they died almost penniless. They almost some of these famous platform speakers, we had to make a collection and send it to the widow of chiropractors like that. Sad story as it is. But the good news, we're here to preach the good news. The good news is that there are successful chiropractors like yourself and Dr. Rob, and there are people like the organizations like the CCC that are going to be a beacon of light to help people, to bring people up, to say you don't have to suffer. You can be in abundance. You can receive the blessings that God is waiting to give you and bestow upon you, but you just have to find the way. And I have stumbled and fallen, but I've been able to maintain. And I looked at my records because I wanted to see, curious, like we all did when COVID hit. How did we do with COVID? Well, the first 6 months of COVID, maybe 3-4 months of COVID, were disastrous when I looked at the metrics, the key performance indicators. But then it just turned around, and then we bounced back, and then we went up, we went up, we went up. And I'm like, I can't. We collected 6 figures greater with the COVID year than we did the year before that. And that year was the year ahead of the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. And this year, we're 6 figures again in a 6-month period above what we were last year. That's what we call supernatural. Who does that? Hey, I'll give all glory and honor to God.
And it is remarkable. There are these two extremes, and my arms are going off the screen on purpose here. I was meeting with a new friend, and I drive by his house on a regular basis in my neighborhood, and it's a big house. They're clearly really wealthy. And I got to meet him for the first time. And it turns out that as much as they have the kind of business all of us would want, the kind of wealth most people would aspire to, there is no purpose. So he's not necessarily happy or thriving as an individual. And he was very attracted to what I had, even though nobody has as much as this guy. He really wanted what we have here in Christ-centered chiropractic. And it is true that the doctors that were at that Connecticut event, there's a half dozen of them that signed up there to be part of the coaching this last year and work with Dr. Rob and I, who have had insane years. I mean, just insane. And it is because you get this extreme pragmatic, procedural, process level training by me. And then with Dr. Rob, you get the full on supernatural. And when they come together, something special and sustainable and fulfilling, satisfying does start to happen. Now, the other question I have for you is, and maybe it's because you and I are kind of on the backside of 50, so you start to think a little bit differently about your life and your career, and that who would want an ordinary chiropractic career? Who would want to get to 60, 70, 75, somewhere where they're thinking of retiring and say, well, that was ordinary. I was average. I did okay in my community. I was somewhat helpful to my profession, versus iconic. And I would really consider you, obviously the work you've done with the ICA as past president and continue to do around the world, I would consider you to have led an iconic career, and that if there was a Hall of Fame for chiropractors, there's no doubt you're getting voted in that first round of your opportunity to get voted in. And so, what has driven that to do something special with your career, not just have a career?
Well, thank you for those kind words. And, most of the time when you get voted into the Hall of Fame, in fact, I'm going to invite, I have a ticket to go see the Basketball Hall of Fame induction ceremony that's been coming up in a couple of weeks. And one of the rules with the Hall of Fame is you have to have been retired for so many years before you're eligible. And so for me, if there ever was a Hall of Fame, it'll be posthumously, because I don't plan on, see, the secret sauce again is having a purpose and loving what you do. Loving what you do. Something is like the president of the ICA, something I never thought about. I didn't aspire to. And it was Dr. Sid Williams said, you need to step up. And it wasn't even in my consciousness. And the next thing you know, God laid out a plan and opened doors for me. And there it was. And then I could do this, do that, do the other thing. And our chiropractic philosophy, and some schools teach none and some teach some, but in our chiropractic philosophy on the signs of life, there's adaptation and growth. And that's who we are. That's the state of the human being. And so you're either growing or you're shrinking, right? Spiritually, if you're a Christian, you can't be the same Christian today as you were 10 years ago. We need to have to show that growth. Same thing in practice. I look at it, well, I'm about to go into my 40 years. For next year, I'll be 40-year anniversary of my graduation. And so I'm not practicing like I did 10 years ago or 5 years ago. The chiropractic principle is the same, but the technology changes, how we interact with our patient changes, social media. We never had this opportunity. This is why I'm so excited. I'm beyond excited, because in the 30 years ago, we didn't have the technology available. We're right now, we're broadcasting live. From our phone, we have our own studio. We have a TV studio. We can broadcast. We never had that capability ever before. You can get out into social media, do social media marketing, where how neat is this? They post ads on a social media. You get a text that says, hey, you got 5 new patients this afternoon, you got 3 new patients tomorrow. They just tell you, people just get on and they pay to come in to see you. We never had anything like that before. And so this technology, again, principle is the same, above, down, inside out. Our message is the same, how we deliver it. So you have to change, or you have to evolve. You have to adapt to the environment. And that's part of it. So the part of it's the passion, the love, serving the purpose, serving God by serving man. So it's not a shallow or hollow or like, oh, so what do I do after all this work? And I've got this, and so what? It's the joy. I can't tell you the joy. And if you are joyful, seeing the patients. This morning I was with patients, and this woman's giving a testimony, and this woman's testimony, and I got a text from a basketball a professional basketball player who plays overseas, and he says, I'm in town, I'm bringing in my girlfriend, I want to get her checked, and just that's our family, that's our community. I love to go in the office, I love to be with the people, and that sustained joy and passion is such a blessing. Oh my God, I'm so thankful for that. And I wish that upon everyone. When we get together in October, I'm going to share some of the things that I have that can just lock in the certainty, because sometimes all the time, we are in a sea, some are drowning, of doubt and fear. Fear. The news, the television, the radio, the patients come in, they're fearful, or we can't see smiles, we can't see faces. It is so tremendously fear-based. People today, I had 2 people just in the last 2 days. I was going to go on a cruise. I was going to enjoy it. My cruise gets canceled. I can't go to Italy. I can't go to the Western Caribbean. All these different things. So fear-based. And we have to be fortified. We have to have the beacon of light. We can't be fearful ourselves, because it's enough to start drip, and you start to forget, wait a minute, health comes from above, down, inside out. This germ doesn't command me, I command this germ. God built our bodies with an immune system that's fantastic. It can fight off every virus, every bacteria that you're going to come up against, and we shouldn't be fearful. That's our philosophy. So I'm going to share with the group some of the latest research that beyond any shadow of a doubt shows the superiority of the nervous system, that shows how chiropractic works. The science, I'm talking about studies that were published within the last 3 months that are hot off the press, that demonstrate that we do. And a lot of people, you just don't have time enough to really find out this research. You just don't know. You don't know the past, and you don't know the future. And because I'm a nut like myself, who is pouring over this information, almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When I have free time, I'm just really wrapping myself in it. And I'm just so excited because, like, look, everyone needs to know this. I want to share this with all of you. So rock solid. And I might have shared it with you, Dr. Ben, but over the last, really, it's been over 36 years, I have made a mecca to Davenport, and in their archives, it's this vault, if you will, that has all of the history of chiropractic, all of it. And you might have, about 20 years ago, a little less now, there was an elevator shaft, and they didn't know it existed, and there were file cabinets of all the history of chiropractic that BJ had taken, and he had put it there, and he said someday it's going to get the light of day. And I was lucky enough to be in the archives just a few weeks ago. I was speaking to the students at Palmer, and I saw where it was all stored in the facility, and I was able to take a look and see, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I found such gems in there that I can't wait to share, and I will be sharing. And we say, Ben, this is an opportunity. I'm telling anybody who's within the sound of our voice, who is watching this, don't miss this opportunity, and come and break bread with us and sit down with us and let us share. And we are just so excited to show you and share with you what we've been doing, what we are doing, and make it real to you. Just make it real. And again, there is despair. I know it. I've got a call this morning from a doctor who's I think is the lowest of lows. And I said, listen, I know it's bad right now, but the future is in front of you. What are you going to do? Forget about what happened in the past. And I shared a story of a friend that I knew who made some bad mistakes. We've all made mistakes. It's part of life. And he made mistakes, and he had to he was a chiropractor, and he lost his license because of mistakes. He had to go to prison because of his mistakes. He was separated from his family. His marriage was kaput because of this. And so you can't, can you get any lower than that? But he got out of a prison, and he got his license restored, and he opened up another office, and he started seeing his patients, and he got fulfilled, and he sought out the Lord, and the Lord said, listen, that's your past, this is your future. And to this day, he's serving patients right now, and he's living the life that he had in despair that he never thought he would have. So we can be low. I get it. You could have a bad. We all have bad days. We have people walk out on us. We have challenges in our office, challenges with our family. That's part of life. That's part of life. But we say, thank you, God, for teaching us this lesson so that I can learn from it and we can move forward and move ahead. So you got to start hanging around if you're in a bad spot, and you got to seek counsel from people who are going to be able to lift you up, and because you're going to be the sum result of the people that you hang out with and the people that you associate with. So you better start hanging out and associated with the people of Christ-centered chiropractic, who's going to deliver the message and deliver the goods and help lift you up.
Awesome. Well, with that glowing cross behind you, I literally see Jesus when I look at you. It's amazing. And
Amen.
yeah, I mean, and I know wherever you go, Jesus shows up, including to our event October 9th there in Connecticut. I really do hope, as you said, people who need certainty, they need courage, they absolutely require transformation, they do show up there. We saw it last year. I know we'll see it again. It was a special event. We really appreciate your time. We're honored today that you'd share with us, and thank you for agreeing to come to Connecticut, because they will hear from one of our profession's greats, and I know that you'll put them on track to a radically better career.
Listen, let me spin that back at you, because it's with all you have to do with your feeling. By the way, is your daughter a freshman in college now?
She's now a diver for the Florida Gulf Coast University.
Oh, God bless her. God bless her. So we have the different chapters of our lives, right? And that's a chapter when they start going off, they leave the nest, and they got to start to grow up in the early adulthood and scholarship athlete. And anyway, what I wanted to say was, for someone like yourself, who's a family man, and you've got the school, you've got so many different things that you've got going on, to take the time to put on a program like this for the benefit of others. And I know that's why you're doing it, for the benefit. Listen, you've been successful. Dr. Rob has been successful. You could ride off into the sunset and nobody would think anything of it, but you're driven because God is whispering and the Holy Spirit's moving in you to say, you know what can I do? There are people out there. And every time you turn a practice around and turn a doctor around and get a doctor fired up or lift him up, you are, in essence, by extension, serving that community. And our communities are hurting. Our community there, you could weep if you got caught up in it. It's just so sad what's happening to the relationships, to the families, the fear, the sickness, the anxiety. And we all need to double and triple our practices to be that beacon of light, to be that shepherd in our community, to be that place of hope, because there is no hope. They're not going to get it anywhere else. They get it in the church, but for their physical well-being, if they don't get it in the chiropractor's office, they're not going to get it. Drugs aren't, and surgery are not going to do it. It's not going to do it. So it's incumbent upon us to make it a difference. And you said, hey, what are they going to say at your eulogy? What are they going to say about, Dr. Smith? Well, he was a nice guy. We liked him. We saw him at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and that's it. Or did he have a huge impact in his community? Did he help the hundreds, if not thousands of people restore health? And it was the place to go. And for the one generation, 2 generations, 3 generations, that's what we want to do. And I'll tell you what, having a purpose-driven life, for me, that is like the most fulfilling. And that's why people say, hey, Doc, when are you going to slow down? When are you going to stop? Hey, like, never. As long as I'm breathing, blood's pumping through my heart, if I can help people, if I can provide the chiropractic care that they need, I'm gonna be there. So for me, I'm excited at the future. I can't wait. I have my kids. I have about 6 children. 5 of my 6 children are with me and serving in chiropractic. And so no greater joy for me. No greater joy.
Well, that's evidence itself. Well, yes, for anybody out there that is struggling, you don't need to be. Obviously, these do seem like desperate, impossible times, but as they'll learn during the CCC event, with God, all things are possible. Thanks, Dr. Curry. Bless you, everybody. Remember who you are.